Diane King Hall, host of Morning Movers, is here with me to take a look at some names on the move, and we're looking at Tesla, which already in 1 month is up 36%.
Exactly.
Has news today.
Exactly. So shares continuing to rise today. We're looking at Tesla higher by about 2% right now. So adding to those gains that we've seen over the past month, continuing the patterns that we've seen also in the broader market with just the relief over tariff and trade policy easing, and also some management clarity. So there's just a couple growth catalysts that investors see right now. There's a report in the Financial Times about Tesla's board forming this special committee to address. We've forgotten about this, but it's still in the background. CEO Elon Musk's pay package. There were a lot of questions about that, still tied up in court, in Delaware court. They're forming this special committee to address the pay after his 2018 compensation package. Still, kind of going through that. It was worth about $90 billion. So that committee weighing a new type of pay deal, a stock-based pay deal, or alternative compensation if that 2018 package is not reinstated. So essentially it signals that Tesla's board still prioritizing keeping Elon Musk as the leader and continuing leadership there. At the same time, you also have this Reuters report with regard to Tesla planning to resume shipments of key components from China to the U.S. by the end of May. And this comes after this trade truce, this temporary trade truce that we have between the U.S. and China. Because you'll recall, Nicole, that Elon Musk even talked about, although Tesla has less exposure to tariffs, it does have some. And it was a similar story, for instance, with Ford. Again, both of those are companies, and like a Rivian, for instance, that have much less exposure to the tariffs. But again, when you think about components, that's where there is some exposure. So the components will reportedly be used for the Cybercab and the semi-truck production lines. Those had been previously delayed when we had, which was essentially a version of an embargo with those 145 or more than 100% tariffs. So this agreement that we reached to roll back tariffs having a real-time business impact that we're seeing. So we're continuing to see this extension of Tesla's gains, as you mentioned, Nicole.
All right. And look, I mean, there's still a lot of folks that are upset with his involvement with Doge. They want him to focus on Tesla.
Yep.
The stock is up 36% in 1 month, has come back, has been meeting and exceeding, this pay package from way back when in 2018 had parameters, and he would be paid more if they met those parameters, and he has. So it's sort of a thorn in the side now of what they're going to do going forward. Because you do have some lofty valuation for Tesla.
That's a great way to characterize it. That is a thorn in the side, and it's it's a headache that Tesla just obviously wants to figure out how to resolve this one, and the way they're trying to approach this with kind of shifting how the pay package is dealt with in order to keep Elon Musk at the helm. And even on their most recent earnings call, well, obviously we saw Tesla facing the difficulties with the downtrend in deliveries, whether we're talking about abroad, Europe, China, or even here in the U.S. on their most recent quarter reporting. It was clear that Elon Musk knew that he has to return more of his attention to Tesla, especially, as you mentioned, Nicole, related to his involvement with the Trump administration and Doge. So it looks like the board has confidence in him, so that's one tailwind. And then the fact that there are reportedly components that will be shipped, again, another tailwind for the company, especially as it relates to the Cybercab and the Semi. Trial production, we know, is expected to begin in October, mass production in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars. And it says the new committee has no choice but to keep him happy and persuade him to stay, because in their opinion, Tesla is nothing without Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And it's been a conversation whether or not he should be at Tesla. But obviously, they think he should be at Tesla. Yeah. How about American Eagle Outfitters? We have a couple of retailers in focus.
Yeah, shares under pressure after American Eagle withdrawing guidance for the year. They've really got a lot of headwinds facing it. They cite macro uncertainty, but they also clearly had issues with the type of inventory that they pulled in. They just really pulled in the wrong inventory. So they're citing this macro uncertainty. They pulled their 2025 guidance. They're going to write down some $75 million of inventory from spring and summer. Essentially, they just got it wrong. So it's poor spring and summer execution, management admitting that their merchandising strategies just did not generate the results that they expected. They've had had to do heavy discounting, steep markdowns to clear that inventory. Of course, you know that hurts margins. They're ending up just with unsellable general merchandise. Part of that is like some other retailers, you know, you had this pull forward of inventory to get in front of tariffs. At the same time, they clearly picked the wrong inventory to pull forward. So now they're saying for their Q1, they're expecting about $1.1 billion in revenue, which would be a decline of 5% on a year-over-year basis. Comps are expected to fall 3%. That is led by an expectation to a drop in comps at Aerie. They're expecting that to be down 4%. They're projecting an operating loss of $85 million. And keep in mind, they actually report their results at the end of this month. But this is, you know, kind of getting the street ready.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to sort of let it out that we are clearly disappointed with our execution. I don't know. I often use the kids as my barometer. Never once did my kids say, "Can we go to American Eagle Outfitters?" No, they've never said that. So that's not to say that American Eagle doesn't have an important place, but it's not somewhere that is most important to a very powerful buying community, and that's kids and teenagers with the money to spend.
Gen Z, exactly, especially the older cohort of Gen Z. You know, would they go to American Eagle? Would they go to Abercrombie & Fitch? Abercrombie & Fitch had a better story. Gap actually has an interesting story ever since the new CEO took back over.
Yeah,
but
news
American
there.
Eagle clearly not hitting the mark, and to your point, not talked about in the ecosystem. What's interesting to me to see the share price performance is not down as bad today as it was in the pre-market, down just 5%, but it has significantly underperformed year to date, especially if you compare it to the S&P 500 or broader retail sector.
And then you have Phillips Van Heusen and PVH, right?
Yes.
And it has some key names under the umbrella like Calvin Klein. Some thoughts about, and by the way, you don't have to be the best name out there. I'm not saying, but it has to be, something has to draw you into the store is my point. Let's talk about PVH. It's up 7% almost.
That's right, and this is off the back of an upgrade at Jefferies. So Jefferies becoming more constructive on PVH. They're upgrading it to a buy from a hold. They're lifting their price target by $35 to $105. So essentially that implies about 30% upside when you think about where it was. As you know, we've seen the stock pop on this news, up, as you mentioned, 7%. Still down year to date, down double digits year to date. It had declined last year, but what Jefferies sees is it's made meaningful progress in becoming more efficient, more strategic under its new leadership. They like what management is doing. They see the headwinds kind of fall into the back. They expect to see sales growth in the low single digits this year, whereas we saw a decline in sales growth last year. They like the cost cutting that we're seeing there. Buybacks, they're expected to lift EPS by high single digits in this year and low double digits in 2026. So again, they see just overall growth, the growth trajectory improving here for PVH. So, you know, parent company of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger.
Yeah. And we'll get retail sales tomorrow. We'll hear from Walmart. So a lot when it comes to the retail sector this week. Thank you, Diane King Hall. Lots of movers to watch here.